All right, fantastic. I think we should be live, but obviously we're going to do a check. I can see it on my screen. Hey folks, good evening everyone. I think we're live. If you can just quickly confirm on chat if the audio video is correct, and then we will. Sorry, there's an echo on my side. All right, folks, just let me know in chat if the AV is clear and we'll get started. AV is clear. Okay, there's a confirmation from the 2IIM team. Fantastic. Anybody watching the stream, can you confirm as well? If you confirm, I'll give you a shout out on YouTube Live, as if that's going to make a difference in your lives, but I'll still give you a shout out. AV clear, folks? Anybody? Awesome. Harsh Tomar. Great. Harsh, thank you for confirming, and welcome, Harsh, to the session. This is your shout out. All right. Okay, folks, welcome everyone. We are going to do a session on how to crack IIFT interviews. Okay. We're going to focus specifically on interviews, but we'll also talk about the SOP process, GD, and WAT as well. Okay. I understand a lot of you must be sort of facing a fatigue right now with all the interviews that you've appeared, right? Most of the school interviews are over. So IIFT is one of those crucial ones that's remaining, along with some other colleges, but a major chunk of these interviews are over, right? You probably would have appeared for 4 or 5 interviews on an average. So there's definitely some sort of fatigue that must have crept in, okay? But IIFT is a very crucial college. It's one of the top 10 B schools, in fact, one of the top 5 B schools in the country. And you have the privilege of sort of having an extended time to prepare for these interviews. Most likely these interviews will begin in April. Okay, so you have a good amount of time to prepare, so definitely make the most of it, right? IIFT is a kind of a school that requires that kind of preparation, and it requires that you do justice to their interviews. Okay, all right, fantastic. So on the panel today, we have 2 familiar faces. I mean, they've been there on the 2IIM channel before. We have 2, I call them the star students of IIFT. They are a part of IIFT-Delhi. Both are pursuing their international business program there, and they are first-year students. We have Bhoomika Mohan and we have Aman Bhardwaj. Welcome, guys. Welcome, folks. Sorry, I should use a general neutral term.
Hello,
okay.
Thank you.
Great. Always good to have you. I mean, I always say my favorite part of favorite part of this job is interacting with students, and it's always a pleasure to interact with the both of them. So fantastic. So yeah, as I said, they are currently studying in IIFT-Delhi and they're first-year students, and I would let them introduce themselves. We can probably start with Bhoomika.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Jatin, for introducing us and for the session. I am Bhoomika Mohan. I have a background in BCom Honours. I did my BCom Honours from Shahid Bhagat Singh College, Delhi University, post which I worked with a newspaper company for 1.5 years, where I was working as a editor for the newspaper company. I then went on to do an MBA from IIFT Delhi, and currently I'm majoring in marketing and strategy and minoring in finance and trade. I'm going to start my internship really soon at Godrej Consumers Product Limited in the coming month. Yeah.
Amazing. And I think Bhoomika you won some contest, right? Some inter-college contest.
I'm the national winner for Godrej Loud, which is a comp.
Amazing. And that the internship came as a result of that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Welcome, Bhoomika, once again. Aman, over to you.
Good evening. I am Aman Bhardwaj. I'm a computer science engineer, and after that I've worked in the IT industry for 2 years, and after that I've joined MBA, and I'm currently majoring in marketing and strategy. That's
fantastic. Great, folks. So as I said, the focus again, by this time, most of you would have appeared for multiple interviews, and you're probably really well prepped for these interviews, right? Having sort of prepared and handled these multiple B school interviews, I'm sure you have a good generic idea of how these interviews are. So the focus of today's session is not general interview tips. We're going to focus specifically on IIFT process, on how the IIFT interviews are different, what are the tips and strategies specifically to crack these interviews, do's and don'ts and stuff like that. Okay, so the focus is definitely on IIFT. Feel free to put in your questions on chat. I have a set of questions that I'm going to ask them in the first half, and then I'll spend the second half answering your questions, but you can just start putting your questions on chat right away. Okay, awesome. Folks, so on that note, let's start very broadly. If you can tell me, how are IIFT, first of all, are IIFT personal interviews different from other B schools? And if yes, how are they different on a very broad level? We'll get into the detailed discussion later.
Okay, I'd like to take that up first and then Aman can add. I think the kind of subjects we study at IIFT here are majorly inclined towards international aspect, global aspect of the things. We are not studying just marketing. We're studying subjects like international marketing management. We're studying fundamentals of international business. We're studying, logistics and trade and agri-commodity business and subjects like customs laws and trade documentations and everything. So all of this does not happen only in India and does not work if we're only thinking in boxes about one country. So you always need that perspective where you're not only taking in consideration of where you are, but also who you are dealing with and doing that in depth. So I think that is how the course is different from every other MBA that is there in India. At the same time, in order for me as an interviewer or for our professors as interviewers, say, for example, it is me, I'd want to be sure that you'll be able to handle that kind of pressure or that kind of, course outline, say, for example. I want to know if you are capable enough or if you're interested enough in foreign trade or international business. Do you understand geopolitics? Do you talk about global aspects of things? Do you look at companies that are not only working in India but abroad? Do you know of supply chains which are not just confined in one country? So I think all of those things set it makes it very different for IIFT MBA than any other MBA. And I think in an interview also, they're trying to gauge if you will fall in interest with the kind of thing that are taught here.
Okay, perfect. So I think just in a nutshell, I think having a global perspective is important. Realizing that it's an international business program, which is different. So preparing on those lines. And also, I think Bhoomika said depth. Right, I think that's something, and this applies to any sort of top college. If you look at the top colleges, the top B schools in India, right, their interviews they go in depth because they're really looking to test if you have depth as a candidate. If you go for sort of like a, let's say, a tier 2 or a tier 3 B school, they'll probably focus on breadth. Top B schools go in depth. So keep that in mind as well. Aman, go for
it. Just to add to what Bhoomika mentioned, since this is a trade college, right? So they have an international bent on everything. So even in the interviews, what I have observed is my observation says that they will expect us to know statistics. They will expect us to know certain basic things that are important with respect to Indian trade. For example, which are the top 5 exporters, top 5 exporting countries, importing countries, what are the top 5 commodities. These statistics are something that they tend to ask. Luckily, I was not asked this, but I actually had prepared for this. But during my preparation also, I had come across that this is going to be asked. So that is one thing that they will expect. And as Bhoomika mentioned, you have to, when you're saying that why do you want to join this college, so this thing should reflect in that you have an interest in something that's going on internationally, right? And they also make you fill a CV form, right? In the CV form also they ask you questions that the questions over there also are very inclined towards international trade, business and all. So that shows that they have this kind of bent. Apart from that, in general, other than this, most of the interviews are similar to what other B schools do. But what I've observed is they don't do stress interviews. My observation has been, and my research has shown that IIFT doesn't generally tend to do stress interviews. So I mean that's that.
Great. That's a relief. I mean, whenever I hear that, it's always a relief. And I'm sure students out there, candidates out there, are heaving a sigh of relief that IIFT doesn't do stress interviews, right? That's a good thing. But I think the stress might come from complexity and depth of questions, right? They'll obviously be very nice to you and warm to you, but they'll go in depth. So I think and your preparation can take care of that, right? Fantastic, amazing. Okay, now before we get into details of each step, right? If either of you can just take us through the sequence of the steps in the admission process that's remaining. So the exam is over, the scores are out, right? The interview calls are out. Now, what are the next steps? Just take us through a sequence and then we'll get into details of each step.
Okay. As per, if I can give you a timeline so that you can refer to it, we received the mail about CV form on 6th March last year. And then we had to submit the CV form on 15th March last year. So we kind of got 6-7 days to fill the CV form that they will send you. This form will be an extensive SOP kind of form, which will ask for a lot of details about your life in general. They'll try to gauge the managerial aspects, career aspects, and the zeal to learn things in you through instances of your life. So they'll ask you a situation where you prioritize, a situation where you manage time well, what do you talk about on social media, what keeps you engaged mostly, are there hobbies that you want to talk about, are there things that you think are important in your life. So they'll try to give you space to tell about yourself in such a way that they understand the kind of things that take your time during your days mostly. That will be the CV form. You'll get an opportunity to highlight as much achievements as you can there. So try using all the resources that you have in writing a good CV form, because the professors at the end of the day will have that CV form on their desk and you in front of them. So that form is a representation of you even before you start to speak something. Then immediately after the forms are submitted, in a days or a few days, you'll receive another mail telling you this year they'll tell you the location of where your WAT, GD, and PI will be conducted. We did not write WAT. We wrote we had to do an extempore. But this year, since it is WAT, last year I appeared for IIM Indoors WAT. So I appeared for IIM Indoors WAT during IPM exam that I wrote way before. But I know, according to that, their timeline, they give you 20 minutes to write about the topic, where you think, note down, write, submit, everything is done there. You receive a topic on the spot, 3 invigilators are moving around you, and then you write it and submit. In Mica,
Bhoomika, sorry to interrupt. We'll just go through the sequence of steps for now. Okay, and then we'll take each step sort of individually.
Okay, so then this is about WAT, and then you'll go in the GD room where you'll sit around 10 to 12 people. They'll talk about a topic that will be given to you there. Probably 10 to 12 minutes or 15 minutes of GD will be conducted there. Immediately after the GD, you'll move to the PI, where it is highly likely that the panel that took your GD will be same as the panel who takes your PI. So it's very important to be careful in stating things that you state in your GD. After your PI, you are relieved. And then for me, I appeared on the first date of IIFT interviews last year, 4th of April. But Aman appeared pretty late in the sequence. So I think 28th, when was your date?
Yeah, it was around 20th only.
So interviews went on till 28th of April. So
28th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did the results come out approximately?
I think 25th of I'm not sure. When did the results?
I think a month after that. I think it was a bit late for us. The entire process was a bit late for us.
Yeah, but our classes started in July, on July 1.
Okay.
First July, yeah.
Okay, so mid-May to end May is when they can maybe end of May is when they can expect the results, with classes starting on 1st of July. Okay, fantastic. All right, so you have the SOP followed by WAT, followed by GD, followed by personal interview. No extempore this year because you have your WAT. Okay, all right, great. This is good information. Now let's go into the details of each process. So we'll start with SOP. Okay, feel free to chime in. First of all, a lot of colleges ask for SOP. Okay, but then different colleges approach that differently. I've seen a lot of schools not touching upon the SOP at all in the interview. It kind of gets ignored. Seems like a formality, right? So how important is the SOP bit in the IIFT process?
I'll take that one.
Sure.
From my understanding, it's something that they may or may not look at. It's not that they will necessarily ask you from this. In my case specifically, they didn't ask me that. So there's that. And the thing is, one tip that I'd just like to say when filling the form is that they'll ask you a question where give an instance of anything, I think, global event that is going to have an impact on business. So, I mean, when I was filling it, there was a lot of, we were all confused, like what to fill in that. And people told me that don't fill something that is conventional, that is already everybody knows, So, but that time there was Russia-Ukraine war going on.
It's still
still there, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, I was told that don't fill this because this is very conventional and it'll just this is just it won't give them any extra things to ask you, so they will probably skip this or something. But I don't think that's the case. The people I was interacting with, a lot of them ended up in Delhi. I mean, it's not that you have to avoid certain topics. There's that. And one more thing is you have to necessarily know what you're talking about, because
correct.
anything that you mention over there, they can ask you. You can't just write anything. It's not necessary that they'll ask you, but they can definitely ask you. And if they catch you that you don't know what you've written, I mean, then there's going to be trouble for that. Yeah, I mean,
correct. Okay. Right. Bhoomika, anything to add here?
Yeah, in my, I mean, I and Aman were in the same group. We were preparing together, so we knew what each of us were writing. But since he is really good with GK and current affairs, so he knew what he was going to speak about. But since Russia-Ukraine is a lot of geopolitics, I tried avoiding to write about it. So I wrote about the semiconductor crisis, because I think that is also going to change the shape of industries in the near future. So, but once I wrote it, I mean, I asked a few friends to vet it and all of that. But later, when I submitted my CV form, until the time my interviews came, I made sure that I wrote like an extensive note about semiconductor crisis and knew everything, because once I've written it in the form, it becomes my thing. They can pick it up and ask me things about why do you think, anything related to that, any facts that are necessary, and it doesn't take much. I mean, 2 hours of research and you're there, right?
Yeah.
So you can write whatever you feel like it is, but once you write it, it's very important to go back, reflect, and then learn everything about that event. Also, to add to that, I mean, there were some other questions like tell some instance of team building from your life. So in questions like these, I would suggest make sure that you write it in a story format. It is always going to help, because not only it's interesting to read, but it also shows that you've actually done something in your life, which tells that you have worked in a team or something like that, instead of just saying that, I think I possess traits which are good for team building and all of that. Then there were questions like why management? What is an innovative idea you have worked on? I realized after coming here, I talked to a few friends, and not a lot of friends had, not a lot of my batchmates had an innovative idea to write about. But don't worry about this question a lot. It is not to check if you are an entrepreneur, or if you started up something, or if you have a great breakthrough idea or something, but they just want to see how you view things. And are you the enthusiastic person who comes ahead and takes initiatives? I mean, I mentioned it somewhere, but I'd again like to tell that I talked about a small portly that I made at my workplace, where we kind of added a few things from here and there too, while we gave our first orientation to new hires. And it was like an addition to the induction process. Something as small as that also works. So you don't need to take it to your heart that, I have not started something, what do I do now? And I would say, like, don't lie in the form at all, because this thing is going to stay in professor's hands for the entire time of your interview. Do not try to write anything that, if deviated from or if asked about, you're not able to handle.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Just one or two things to that. As Bhoomika correctly mentioned, do not contradict what you've written in that book.
Yes,
so
very important.
It's a reflection of your opinion. So it will show that you're not respecting your own opinion, right? So there's that. And one thing is, in the end, they ask you one question is, do you want to mention something else that is not in currently you've mentioned? Right. So the suggestion is that please don't leave it blank. At least fill something that you've not been able to fill till now in your CV point, anything that any skill or anything that you've done. Actually, I didn't mention anything significant. I just mentioned that I like watching a lot of movies, and also even still it's I mean, I would say, but don't leave it blank.
Correct. Yeah, and I think with regards to that question, remember, an SOP is also a pitch. It's your pitch for the selection, for the admissions team, right? So anything that can cast you in a positive light, you can use that space to talk about that. Talk about your strengths, talk about your values, right? Or if you don't have anything sort of that substantial, as Aman said, talk about movies or talk about something in general.
I put two hobbies. I like learning about history, and I like watching movies. So I put that because I wanted that if they read that, at least it'll give them a point to ask me questions. It's like a hook for them. Yeah,
absolutely. Great, good tips, folks. So I think in general, just one point from my end. Whether they ask you the SOP questions in an interview or not, the SOPs would still matter a lot. Okay, and this is true for all top schools. Okay, so don't take the SOP lightly. I know it can be quite a bit of pain to write so much, and especially once at a time when you've written so many SOPs. But again, I'm saying IIFT is a school which that deserves that respect and time and effort, right? So please take time out, write the SOP properly, get it reviewed. Don't make any typos. Okay, that's the worst thing that you can do with an SOP. Somebody reading it and sees typos, and immediately the thought that they get is this candidate is not serious. I mean, you didn't even do a grammar check. You didn't do a spell check. So then how serious are you about these interviews, right? So please do take that seriously. Okay, fantastic. All right, now, okay, there's one question regarding SOP, so I'll take it right away, and then we'll move to the other process. They're saying, should we write about team working instances, empathy from office settings only? Or can it be, does it have to be like the team working instance that you spoke about, Bhoomika? Does it have to be from your work experience?
I mean, Aman can take it, but I think no, not at all actually, because there are so many freshers out there, and there are more chances in your informal life where you have actually worked together. It could be very personal as well. It could be something that you did for your family, for an event, for some friends, or if you help somebody out. It does not have to be. In fact, it's good because most people are going to write about office instances. It's always better to have something interesting coming up.
Absolutely. And I think freshers, folks, don't feel left out. Okay, don't feel that you wouldn't stand a chance with work experience. Folks, teamwork can be from your group projects in college also, right? So you'll have several instances from college, or as Bhoomika said, from your personal life. Feel free to mention that. It doesn't have to be like a corporate sort of office environment setting. Okay. All right, fantastic. Let's move on. So the second step after SOP, again, when they go there, this time, of course, the process is offline. So it will start with the written ability test. Okay. Is it on the computer or is it pen and paper? I think that's important for folks to know. What are they sort of getting into?
I think we still don't have clarity on that.
Okay.
But I think because it's happening in different cities, it's highly likely that it will be pen and paper because it's very difficult to accommodate the infrastructure in every city similar in the same.
Yeah, so folks, get used to that. If you're not used to writing, just get used to sort of working with a pen. Talk to us about the duration, word limit, topics, just in sort of in general for the WAT. What can they expect?
I think, again, it is not revealed. It's nowhere mentioned on the website, or there's no communication whatsoever about the time limit or something. But if you look at the trend in most colleges, WAT is conducted for about 10 minutes or 10 to 12 minutes or something. And you have a very general topic which everybody can think about rationally and can form opinions about, and then write. So you don't really have to worry about what time it will be, because your practice does not have to be like a 20-minute writing or a 15-minute writing. It just have to be a time-bound writing where you're thinking and have chronology to how you're thinking. So you should know, like, as soon as I receive the topic, I have a rough paper or I have a side on the corner of my sheet, and I'm going to think in points. So I'll give like 2 minutes to thinking in points as to what all am I going to write about. Post which I'll try to structure, like, what will my introduction contain, what will my body contain, and what will my conclusion contain. You can take the risk of learning to not start thinking about conclusion or something even before writing. Some people are spontaneously good. Some people need structure. So have that in mind, and then start writing with the intro. Once you introduce with the basic general things about the topic, I would say include numbers there, include stats there if you have any, include examples in the body if you can, include names of the companies, names of the schemes, anything new that you have read, include it there, and then go ahead and talk about your opinion. It's very, very important in the WAT to write about how you think about the topic, because information I can get from anywhere. I can read a Hindu article and know what the thing is about. Why am I asking you to write this? Is because I want to see how you view things. Or if you read something, how do you form opinions about it? Because tomorrow you're going to be a manager and you're going to receive feedbacks from people, and how do you take it further is important. And I think then you conclude it in any other narration that you do, be it GD, be it WAT, be it extempore. The format is the same. It's just that you're writing it this time. So practice writing. Try doing one essay a day. Send it to your teachers, send it to your mentors, send it to, in groups that you are a part of. Review each other's work. That way, not only you read yours, but also 10 other articles. Help each other out. And I think that will be more than enough, because everybody else also got equal time and opportunity as you to prepare for WAT, because it came as a surprise for everyone.
Correct. Okay, sounds
Yeah,
good. Sounds
just wanted to add one or two things. First of all, I don't think you don't need to necessarily write a lot of flowery language. It doesn't have to be very
Absolutely, I agree.
fancy way of writing,
Yeah.
right? It should just get the point across. And as Bhumika mentioned, it is better if you are more specific. If you can put data that shows that you are well read and you know what you're talking about, right? So do try to include facts or statistics in that. And secondly, I think yes, it is very important to form groups to prepare. In my personal experience, because it's better that you have other people to review what you've written, right? It's only through that you constantly improve, and they can give you feedback and you can give them feedback. It'll be helpful for them. So yeah, I would suggest that please do try to form some group to prepare for these interviews or WAT or GDP.
Sounds good. Great tips. Just one last tip from my end. Take a minute to review your WAT. Make sure you have at least 1 minute to review what you've written. Please correct your typos. Again, don't make typos, don't make mistakes with language. And I think I completely agree with Aman. This is where I'm wearing my VRC hat and telling you, don't use flowery language if you're not comfortable. Okay, use simple sentences, focus on the substance, focus on the content, okay, and make sure that you don't make any typos. Right? Structure, as Bhoomika said, that intro, body, conclusion is very important. Stick to that, keep it simple. If you can think of the conclusion beforehand, it really helps to structure the essay very well. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Let's. There are quite a few questions on campuses, and I was expecting that Delhi, Kolkata, and the other campus. Folks, we'll come down to that. We'll discuss those parts as well. Let me just go through the process first, and then we'll come down to the campus differences. All right. So that takes care of WAT. Then comes the GD, right? Give us sort of general. First, of course, help us understand the format. How does the GD work? Do they get individual time to speak, and then there is a group time, or do they sort of start with the group discussion directly? Just give us an idea of that, and then we'll come down to your do's and don'ts.
So there are different formats of GDs. It could occur that in IIFT interviews, there are multiple formats that they go ahead with. You may get, like if it is a moderated GD, you will get your personal time to speak, and each one of you will get some space to speak. But if it is an unmoderated interview and they are not, trying to direct you what to do, you are on your own and anybody can take up and start. So it's always good to be the person who takes an initiative and starts. You come across as confident and informed. If you are in like the first or second person who is speaking, you can always grab the chance to give structure to the GD. You can say like, guys, I think we'll go through this. We'll talk about, examples, and we'll try to inculcate opinions. By the end of it, we'll try to conclude if so-and-so is actually true or false or anything that the topic is about. That is a good way to go about it. If you think you're not like able to get a chance at it, you can be the timekeeper. You can always come ahead and say, guys, it's been 12 minutes. I think the GD was scheduled for 15 minutes. It's time that we can try to conclude it. Or you can come in between and say that I can see that we're talking about the same things over and over again. Maybe we can talk about any examples if anybody know. At this point in time, I remember this example. And that's how you can add to the GD. And then there are some basic ethics about the GD that one of them being you don't cut a girl when she's speaking. You don't become arrogant, and you don't enforce your opinion on others. You be very respectful. You don't take names of the people that are sitting around you if you want to agree or disagree with someone. You don't always come and say that adding on to that. It's very annoying. You come as an individual personality and say that I agree with what has been talked about now, but I would want to say this. Always use passive voice, third person, so that you're just reporting things and not personally attacking somebody or personally taking something. It's always dicey to use personal experiences in a GD, because then it becomes a story and it takes a lot of time. But if you think it deems fit, you can use it, because it can also help you stand out. So I think
Right.
these are a few things that I
Okay.
can
Yeah.
add.
Yeah, Aman, go ahead.
You could also if again, as Bhumika mentioned, it can be they might give a different format, right? But if it is that kind of a GD where you're not given individual time to speak, so there are a few pointers that you should keep in mind. First of all, you have to develop the ability to identify gaps when somebody is speaking. If somebody is speaking and there's always a certain gap when the other person is starting to speak. So if you are able to identify that is where you can start speaking, right? That is something that will only come through practice. So which is why we would suggest that you should practice in groups. And apart from that, thing is, doesn't you never try to drag your point for too long. It is not going to impress any interviewer when you're just blabbering and on and on and on. What Be crisp in what you're trying to say, and the quality of the point is extremely important. That is the most important. You might just, even if you put, I think, 3 points, if you make 3 entries, but they are all solid. What you know what you're talking about, and they do give some direction to the discussion. So I think, yeah, that should reflect very well on yourself. And and as Bhumika mentioned, do not interrupt other people. That shows that you're not a team player, right? And do not shout, because there's no point in shouting. It's just that it's not a competition of how loud somebody is. It's about how well you can get some point across and how you can come to a conclusion. So there's that. And if try to be the concluding speaker if possible, because then you'll get the chance to take everybody's points and relay it back to the panelist. So that shows that you are listening to others. So that also reflects well on you. And do try to show support for others. If somebody, for example, somebody has not got a chance to speak for a long time, you might want to, and you've already got 2 or 3 entries, you might want to tell that, please let this person speak as well. So that also, I think, shows good behavior and good team skills.
Correct. Okay, sounds good. So often GDs become like a fish market, right? There might be groups where there are few aggressive people, right? And someone, as you said, like, don't shout. But what if other people around you are shouting, and you just don't get a chance to talk? What do you do in that situation? And that often happens, unfortunately, in case of GDs. How would a person navigate that?
I think because everyone is very desperate about getting ahead of everybody else, it becomes a situation where everyone wants to speak, and you also get noticed when you give others a space to speak. Right. You also get noticed when you give them a place to talk, or give them a space between like others, because people who are introverts and who can't really comfortably speak they stand out, and people like the interviewer or the person noticing, the moderator, the judges probably know that these people are not able to come ahead, and they also want them to speak because they don't want to just deny them a chance at IIFT just because they were not speaking there, because they could be brilliant people, just not comfortable in crowds. So it's always good to give them a chance as well. You can say that, I can see that only 3 minutes are left. We are also going to conclude, but I see there are 2-3 people in the group that haven't spoken. So guys, would you like to take a chance here and give your opinion about it? Once you open the floor for somebody, I don't think anybody's going to come and break the flow and start talking about themselves. Another thing is like how you control what happens in a fish market is by knowledge. Just like Aman said, the quality of content matters a lot. It is only when you know what you're talking about and you have facts and statistics to support it, can you defy the construct that others have made against your notion, right? So have the knowledge which you can develop right now. Somebody who's just trying to beat the bush around will not be able to stand for long enough than somebody who is confidently coming across as a person who knows what he's talking about and has some opinions, some information, some stats, and some current affairs attached to it to support the notion.
Okay. All right. Great. Aman, any tips from you on like if and when it becomes a fish market? Like, let's say people are shouting and you're just trying to come in. How do you even do that if several people are just shouting at the same time?
It's just that there's a difference between shouting and being firm. If you're trying to keep a point across, then you might want to speak. You must want to be put your point across, but I mean, even if you do get a bit loud, it should be very firm. You're not trying to just, shout on top of your lungs. There's a difference there. That is something that you only observe through practice.
Right.
Initially, if everybody just, banging their head around, they're just shouting like that. And even if you are a little bit loud, right? But your tone is not wavering. You're just, you are sticking to what you are doing, right? So that firmness is something that the interviewer will appreciate. I think in my experience. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Perfect. Somebody was asking about what kind of topics can we expect in GDs? I mean, are these going to be like kind of technical topics related to, let's say, trade or international business, or are these usually generic topics?
I think mostly they are generic because they want everyone to be included, and we understand that people are coming from different backgrounds, don't have the same kind of knowledge and expertise about something. So it is mostly current affairs based. I mean, the kind of extempore, I'm judging this by the kind of extempore we got, because I am in no position to tell what kind of topics will you get. But a lot of extempores were current affairs based and knowledge based, and you had to understand some data and had to be reading news to be able to talk about that. Okay. So I assume that will be it. But GD also opens a lot of scope for abstract topics. So I would suggest everyone to please practice abstract topics as well, because then it becomes hard if you are not able to start a talk about, say, red and blue, or what does blood stand for. It could be anything as random as you can think. So it's always better to prepare for some.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, this is where groups will come to help, because Bhoomika and I were in the same group, and she was really good with abstract topics, and I was not. I mean, I couldn't just think what to say. Right? So this is where you learn from the experience of others, right? The opinions of others. So this is why I think an abstract, and I would say that do try to practice something that you find difficult. If I found abstract topics to be difficult, so I used to practice even more of them. Right, because we had extempore in our time, so I used to practice even more questions or more extempore topics. I used to tell others to give me more abstract topics because I was not good at them. Right, so you might want to do that as well. Yeah.
Okay. And just one tip from my side. I think for WAT and GD topics, right, you'll have to prepare for, as we were discussing, around trade basics, international business basics, current affairs, business news. You anyway have to prepare for that for your interview. There can be some topics around that in the because I was going through IIFT transcripts from the past, and of course those were extempore topics, but there were topics around India's neighbor first policy, GST advantages and disadvantages, the Russia-Ukraine crisis impacting trade or global trade. So there were those kind of technical topics as well. So please make sure to sort of brush up on those aspects before your interview. Okay, awesome. Number of students in one group. Aditya is asking this. I think it will be around 12 to 15, if I'm not wrong, right? That's the number of students that you can expect. And the format, as Aman said, it can be either way. Either they can start with giving each person 1 minute to talk about and then a group discussion, or straight up jumping into a group discussion, right? So keep that in mind. Be prepared for both formats. Okay. All right. Great. Yes, we'll come down to campus.
Yeah. Just one more thing. Do try to keep a smile when you're speaking. It's not that you should seem that you are actually genuinely interested to be in this place, right?
Correct.
Even in the interviews, in the personal interviews and in the GDs, do try to have a subtle smile, because I mean, that shows initiative. That shows that you are happy to be here, right? And you're happy to interact with these people. And body language, of course, keep. Go ahead.
And one more thing, I got reminded of it. Try to keep a note of what is going on in the GD. If you don't get a chance to speak, keep a pen and notebook in hand and keep writing what is going on. At least you can refer back and say, in the beginning we talked about, especially if you're planning to be the guy who concludes, it's always better to have something written, but don't only keep writing, otherwise you're not participating. Keep a small note of what has been going on in the GD.
Okay, perfect, awesome. Let's move to personal interviews, and then we can come down to questions. So regarding personal interviews, right, what are the common focus areas or questions that come up in IIFT interviews, like specifically to IIFT? Of course, there'll always be an introduction, tell me something about yourself and all of that. But one focus area that Bhoomika and I were discussing was around your knowledge on trade. an international business, right? So let's talk about that. What kind of resources can folks use to prepare on that front?
So, I mean, you don't necessarily need to know about trade or something. You just need to be interested in the global aspect of things. You just need to be interested to learn, because anyway, you're going to learn so much about so many subjects which are global compliance and, supply chain and everything. You're going to learn about it here. We just want to know if you're interested in learning them when we come and when professors are teaching, you're interested or not. So, I mean, very general geopolitics, very general current affairs, and your opinions, and then basics of trade, like what are some of the basic terminologies in trade. You can do a general NTPL, NTPL's international business course or something, a small YouTube playlist you can search and find anywhere. So it's always better to have some knowledge about it so that you sound, and if you have some interest in trade, or if over the course of this 1 month of your preparation, you develop some interest in trade, it is highly likely that they will pick you if you mention it in your interview. But to mention it in your interview, you need to be very well prepared about what you talk about there. It is okay if you don't know a few definitions, some technical jargons or something, but it's very important to have opinions about what is going on in the world of IB and trade.
Correct.
So
Correct. I think
know about foreign exchange, basic economics, know about basic trade terminologies. You can find them on any website if you try to Google it.
Right. So folks, there is I'll come down to that. There's a short list of resources. I'll put that in the comments after the session. One thing that often students ask me is, right, how do I stand out from the crowd? Right, especially freshers have this doubt that, how do I compete with a person with 3 years of work experience? Let's say in international business, right? There is a candidate who has direct experience in that domain. How do you compete with them? The only way you can compete with them is to show depth in your knowledge about this topic and depth in your interest. So as Bhoomika said, you have 1 month to prepare. If you really want to stand out, go all out and prepare. Right? I mean, don't get technical with jargons, but understand the concept, understand what's going on in the world of international business and trade, and develop an opinion, as they're saying. I think that's a beautiful way of standing out in the interview and pressing the button. Right? Aman, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah. For specifically, as you correctly mentioned, in IIFT, they do expect you to know certain trade statistics. Yeah. So you might want to read up on those, as I mentioned, imports, exports, which products are important, and why are these products highly exported.
Correct.
That they can ask. And I have observed that macroeconomics is something, that they try to, they asked me also, they asked me about the different kinds of revenue, or the taxes that the government can charge. So I would say that a knowledge of macroeconomics is important, something right. that would be, I mean, you don't need to be a very expert in this, but for example, what is RBI's monetary policy? What are the different kinds of taxes? Where does the government spend money? What is capital expenditure?
Correct. Yes.
These kind of things. I mean, I really like learning these things. Hello. Yeah. So I really like learning these things. So I still keep watching videos on this, and I like a few channels. For example, there's a channel called Study IQ. I used to watch the videos from that, and there's a very famous teacher called Khan sir. So he also makes a very good observations on geopolitics and macroeconomics. So I studied from that as well. And one resource that I really personally liked is that there's a show called Cut the Clutter. So this is more than 1,000 episodes. I think I've seen most of them, I think. So that's something that I do have an interest in, but this is something that people might want to check out to get more facts and more details and apart from this, I think you will be expected to know things about the budget as well, because that shows both things, that shows current affairs knowledge as well as the knowledge of economics and finance, right? So you might want to read up on the budget. And for example, if you're from one particular industry, for example, I was from IT industry, right? So they might want to ask what are the provisions that in the budget that are going to have an impact on the IT industry.
Definitely.
Right? Industry specific questions on budget. So you need to be really thorough with that.
Yeah.
Right? So
definitely.
I'll add about the media industry here. So I have a background in media. I was asked in the interview about my industry, and it is highly likely that you will be talking about your industry. I think Aman spoke a lot about the industry that his father worked in his interview. He has mentioned it before somewhere. So I mean, there's this website, ibef.org, where you can go and read about any industry if you have interest in the industry, or if you come from an industry, if you have a background in that, in your undergrad about, say, agriculture or FMCG or media, anywhere, you can read about that there. And if you are interested in going for a company in, say, telecom or automobile or something, you can read about those industries. It's always better to sound interested, and you will be talking about some technicalities in your interview. You cannot expect to only be talking about your life and good things that you can make up on the spot, right? So be ready for that as well. And these were a few things that you can focus on.
Right. Okay.
One few things more is that they might want to know your opinions on things.
Right.
And it is better than if you can use technical language in your opinions, right? What will the impact of this policy be on this industry? So why, when you give the answer, it should sound like you're somebody who knows what they're talking about, right? So there's that. Please do not. My suggestion would be that don't have any expectations in mind, because the interview can go anywhere. They can ask you anything. You should not be taken aback at that moment. As Bhoomika mentioned, I was asked about my father's industry. It's not something that even I have anything to do with, right? So the thing is, you need to be calm. You need to be able to assess the situation and do not panic, right? I mean, for me, it was a completely different tangent itself. Almost the entire interview went on that only.
Right.
So, it's that the most important thing in my experience is that as much as your preparation is important, your calmness and composure in the interview itself is also that much important.
Right.
I would add a few resources there while Aman talked about a few channels and all. I think since I was interested in marketing, I used to watch a lot of Think School. This YouTube channel is amazing. You can actually learn about stories of brands, starting from where they started, how they're doing now, everything. So it's very important you watch that channel. And for news, I used to follow Byju's IS. I still do, even if I have nothing to do with, like, I'm not appearing for any sort of news interviews or something now, but I'm just interested. So it's very important that during this course of time, even if you were not interested in news or something, or you didn't have time because of your CAT prep and you were focusing on other things, work and everything, it's very, very important that you do it now, because you have time. You can, if you decide on it, you can still go back and do a year's GK or a year's news now, because how much does it take for you to revise your academics? I think a week or even lesser than that, 3 days, and you can prepare one favorite subject. You're done with that mostly. About your CV, I made a big thick notebook. I wrote I gave 3 pages on an average to everything that I wrote in my CV form. So if I had written that I'm interested in swimming, I was not just interested in swimming. I had a 3-pager note on the best swimmer, the Olympic size pool, what is the lengths and breadths of it, anything and everything that could be shooted at me about swimming, swimmers or India, or who swims the best, who swims the worst, who has covered Indian Ocean, who has covered all the 7 continents, everything. And then I had, since I was a sub-editor, I had a big part of the notebook dedicated to how sub-editors work, what all do they do, what do the next when you get promoted, what do you do then? Where do you come from? And what are the kind of stories they cover? Who's the one who motivates me? Who's my best journalist? Who's somebody I think can improve? So all of that. It's very important to be careful while you speak about this, but that is the kind of effort you put in while you're preparing. That's what I'm trying to tell.
Okay. So folks, what's increasingly coming out again, one, you'll have to prepare really well for these interviews, right? IIFT interviews, based on this discussion and also the transcript that I've seen, do get technical in the sense that, again, trade, international business, geopolitics and stuff like that. So you are expected to have a baseline knowledge of that. And I think one point that Bhoomika mentioned in my earlier discussion with her, don't expect fluff in IIFT interviews. right? They're not going to suddenly talk about Harry Potter or probably ask you the meaning of your name and have an in-depth discussion on that front. These are experienced professors, industry veterans, right? So expect the discussion to be technical, to be business oriented, to be trade oriented, and it's best to be prepared on that front, right? Keep the usual things in mind. Of course, you'll have to focus on your academics. Of course, you'll have to focus on current affairs. Those are standard things that will come along. But I think the trade, business, international perspective is really important. Okay.
One last thing that I want to mention about the same thing that we said, that there will be no stress interviews, and according to our research, there are no stress. We listen about these things from the people who have made it to IIFT,
Correct.
right? And they were able to handle it. I was at a point in my interview, I was talking about Haryana and the kind of wheat that is exported from Haryana to what all states, and what does India export the most, and why do you think Haryana can beat Punjab, and what are the farm laws about, and all that. Now, if you're unaware, you will say the interview was stressful because you don't know it and you were in an uncomfortable spot. But if you were prepared, then you knew that these things will come to me, because I come from Haryana. I had a dedicated notebook where I only read about the kind of things that were coming and going out of my city. I also read about Delhi, even though I was living so close to Delhi. I had done my grad from Delhi only, but I still wasn't sure, like, where is IIFT located? What does Hoskas, what is Hoskas, what is the history? What is it? There are 90% chances you will not talk about this in the interview. But if there's even 1% chance where you show that you are interested in Delhi, and what if they ask you, like, do you even know where IIFT is located? And how is Hoskas important? What is it about? They may not ask it, but just for your own satisfaction and confidence, you should touch upon everything that you think can be asked in an interview.
Correct. Okay, awesome. So I think there are about 10-15 minutes remaining. We'll take questions, and then I have a couple of things that I'll probably ask you towards the end if we have time. There's a lot of questions around campuses. Okay, of course, you folks are from the flagship campus, which is Delhi, right? There's also Kolkata, and there's also now the third campus for IIFT. Is that correct?
I mean, it's still in the process, so we don't know how many seats. Why have they given so many calls? Probably there's something going on. We, as students of IIFT-Delhi, are unaware.
Okay, but that's the Kakinada campus, right? Is that correct?
No, I mean, the Kakinada campus does not offer an MBA IB. So people who have written IIFT exam will not be able to apply to Kakinada. That campus provides IPM program, which is a 5-year integrated MBA program. Yeah, that's different. So these calls that you will get will be for IIFT Delhi, Kolkata, and probably Gandhinagar, because that's what is being talked about a lot. But these could be rumors, and we may not be sure about that yet.
Okay. So what are the differences is what people are asking. Of course, Delhi is the main campus that everybody wants to get into. But what are the main differences between Delhi and Kolkata? And I think the main question is, do the placements happen through a unified placement system, or do they have different placement systems altogether?
These kind of questions are fine, but the point is that have you converted Delhi and Kolkata, and are you now asking? Because then you can reach out to anybody from IIFT Delhi or Kolkata and ask them that, I am in a situation where I converted this and now I'm thinking about it. Even before appearing for the interview, it's wrong to think about these things, but just to give a stop to your curiosity, and I'll let Aman speak about it more, because I converted Delhi in the first list and I never had to research or think about it. But Aman was in the top few percentilers in IIFT exam, but he came from Kolkata in the first list, in the second iteration that happened. So he may probably have be more informed. But I'll tell that there are so many students from Kolkata that are placed with us. The company that I am going to work in, Aman is people are going to work in. So many people from IIFT Kolkata are with us and are going to have an equal treatment, are going to have an equal footing and equal opportunity, and will be called an IIFTian at the end of the day. There are a few companies that are Delhi only. So they only visit Delhi because of the legacy and the kind of relationships that Delhi has had with those companies. But they don't have anything against Kolkata. So, I mean, it's nothing of sorts that you need to be worrying about right now or thinking so much about it right now during your research part. Once you have a call and then you call us, we'll be better equipped to tell you things that are more relevant than just placements or things that you're currently thinking about.
Okay, sounds good. Aman, anything to add here on the differences between Kolkata and Delhi?
Yeah, I mean, even I'm not very aware of the Kolkata campus, because from the beginning I'm from Delhi campus only. I started here. I got in the waitlist. Through the waitlist, I converted Delhi campus. But during my research, it didn't seem to be a lot of difference between the two.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm not sure about the placement. The placement committee will probably know more, but yeah, I mean, doesn't seem to be a lot of difference. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. The next question is, again, I think Harsh and somebody else also had that question. I have a low composite score. Okay. What are my chances of, can I still get a chance to sort of, get through IIFT and get a seat there? Of course, Bhoomika, I understand your standard answer and I completely I'm in line with that. Don't think about it. You have a chance, go for it. But realistically speaking, have you seen examples of folks around you, maybe in your batch, who had low composite scores and are still sitting there?
I think yes. I always keep telling people about my batchmates who have somebody has a 3-year work gap, somebody who has worked for 4 or 5 years, somebody who's 30 years old. So all kinds of people are there. Somebody who has very poor undergrad marks, and people who don't have good percentiles at all. I mean, they are there. So all of this happens because of the performance that you give in your interviews.
Correct.
It's only the day now that is in your hand that you can make a difference there. So low composite score obviously puts you down the person who has a better percentile, who has a better composite score. That I'm not even denying that fact. If I had both of you and he was performing better and you were equally good, I'd rather choose him because he seems to be better at aptitude, right? But if you're way more, easy to communicate with, somebody who's welcoming, somebody who's other values and ethics and doesn't come across, is grounded, isn't arrogant, speaks well, is polite, respects people, gives space to others to speak, is just a nice person in general, try to be a good person in general, to be happy to sleep as the person who you are. I will be more than happy to take you as well. And it's not always you beating somebody. How will I, pass across somebody who is an IITian, an IITian? You don't have to compete. You can both be here. There's a lot of space. So, yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Again, there's an interesting question. I think I missed that in the beginning, but related to this, it says, I really want to appear for IIFT, but I'm afraid that I will fail in the interview. Now the question is, you're afraid that you'll fail in the interview. It's a legitimate fear. Okay. Pretty much every candidate is scared of interviews. Let me tell you that, right? Second, the bigger the college, the more the anxiety, but everyone is going through that. Now you have a fear. Now it's quite possible that you may fail in the interview, but at least you tried, you got that learning experience. You can come back to it next year and crack it. There are many people who crack it in the second attempt. But what if you don't fail? What if you pass, right? So we don't know. I think these are just, it's like a flip of coin right now. And I think the uncertainty can only reduce with the amount of prep that you do, right? And I think that's where I like Bhoomika and Aman's point, right? These are folks who cleared it last year, but they prepared intensively for this. It's very clear from their conversation, from the resources that they're listing. Bhoomika saying that she had like a 3-pager written based on her SOP, expanding on each and every point to cover all bases. I mean, if that's the kind of preparation that you can do, then you will stand a strong chance. And then I think your fear will also go down. So attack it with more preparation. I think that'll really help you. Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. Now, let's see. There are more questions here. I got to know about the MBA in Business Analytics program. Is it worth applying for, or will it be a weekend program on official site? Any idea on the analytics program, the Business Analytics program?
Not yet. The information will be up on the website so we can read, because we are as new as you guys about it. No,
correct. Also, it's launching this year, is it?
We think so. Yeah, it has been mentioned, so we're not sure.
Okay. All right. Do interviewers usually ask case-based or logical reasoning-based questions?
Can ask anything. It's not that. I mean, it's important to not go with a set thing in mind, because then you're up for surprises, right? So if you already expect that, it can go but if you don't know something, you can just tell them, right? So that's also there. But don't worry. I mean, they can ask and they might not ask. We can't say for sure.
Right. Okay. I think scenario-based questions can pop up in any interview, case-related based. So I think what's most important there is to first understand the approach to handle these questions, because there's a specific step-by-step process that you need to learn to handle this in an interview, and then practice a number of questions before the interview, right? The questions won't repeat. Obviously, it will be a new question. So focus on the approach, ask for time, structure your answer, use a pen on paper. Remember, the approach is more important than the answer, those general things. So it's important to learn the approach to handle these questions. Okay. I'm a 20-year-old fresher, commerce background. What specific things to focus on and ideal strategy?
I would say I would say prepare one favorite subject from your academics. I had prepared marketing, advertising, consumer behavior, like 3-4 subjects. And you can do 1 or 2. I was pretty good at economics as well. I still am. So I thought that it will be nice to brush up on things that I'm anyway confident about. And then I was not very good at news and, trade and all of that. So I did like a YouTube course on international business by some IIT Kharagpur's teacher, somebody, and I knew the basic jargons then. So for commerce, you need to like do one favorite subject. It is a possibility that you will have a finance or an accounts teacher, professor in your interview. So it looks very bad if you can't make a journal entry. If you can't tell if the, if this transaction will go in P&L or income statement or trading account or something. So that is important. So that's anything that is basic. If they ask you what are the 3 common rules of accounting, you should be able to tell debit what comes in, credit goes out, and all of those 3 rules. So it will look very bad if you can't even tell the first class that you take in any BCom honors or any BBA. So that is important. Every engineer also revises the academics and does their part. One that, and second example. So I told you think school. Once you go through, so I'll tell you I made notes of the videos that Think School had made. So they've made videos on Starbucks, Pidilite, a lot of companies, Tata and everything. So I used to like make notes of whatever he says in the interview and keep a brief of every company. So I knew if I had to talk about Starbucks, this is what I'm going to say. If I had to give an example somewhere, if I have to pull Lenskart and how they were really good with their employees, I'd bring it up and talk about it. So that is because I was interested in marketing. So I had to keep up with that. If you are also interested in a domain like that, I also always mention there are a few websites like afaqs.com, campaignIndia.in, and adgully.com. I used to visit these websites to just know what is up in the marketing world, what new is going on. I also mentioned here and there that you can go to IIFT's marketing club, which is brandwagon_IIFT on Instagram, and read a few things there because they keep posting about basic terminologies and things. It'll always you'll look interested if you talk about that.
Perfect. Aman?
Yeah. I would say just as she mentioned, do check out. There are a few pages of IIFT as well. A few clubs, they have their own Instagram pages. For example, Blash is the trade club. So they do put a lot of the statistics that I was talking about, right? So they already have put a lot of content on that. Geopolitical observations. What are the trade statistics? What can India do? What is India's strategy? So a lot of things have already been covered over there. So you might want to, check that out. This IBC, this Blash. So these, if you find these, so please, go through them. That will help, and it'll also show that you already taking you're taking an interest in the college. That if you mention this to the interviewer.
Okay, perfect. I think I've covered all the questions on chat. One final question that I think is important to discuss is about about the fact that if let's say there is if a panelist brings in, let's say, a political discussion in the interview, right? And that often happens, right? Some panelists do that. They ask you sort of political questions and they'll ask you for your opinion on that. And some of them will even prompt you to take sides, whether it's, let's say, a contentious issue involving the ruling government or the opposition or anything of that sort. Any tips to handle these kind of tricky questions?
See, according to my personal opinion, because I've also worked in the industry where we write a lot of opinionated stuff about the government or the policies that are brought up, I would say it's always good to be subtle. It's always good to know your ground. Always good to know that you're just a student, that you're not in any position of power to make substantial real life changes right now. And acknowledge that fact and also understand the person sitting in front of you has worked in one or more projects with the government. And if it is an IIFT professor, definitely they worked with the government in some capacity or other, right? They may just be helping the PhD students with their research. They may have been, they may have put out real time researches themselves. They may have worked with the government and all that. It's never nice to say anything bad about somebody who's serving you, right? In the bigger realm of things, if you look at it, the government is still working for you. You can't directly go ahead and say bad things about it. That is my personal opinion. Very subtly mention that, these things are being, this is the information that I have about it. But if I were in a capacity to make some changes, I think these are the few things that I would tweak around, or at least give out a suggestion to, I'd put out this as suggestion. Always tell that, I would recommend this. I would like to bring this on the table to talk about it. Never say that, I would want to change this. I think if I were, that is very wrong that the government is doing, it's harming a lot of people, farmers and all that. Don't get swayed away with the emotions, because what you are seeing as public is very different from what they're seeing as a country. So that is a very safe zone to play in, and never get into these political dramas or a tussle, because it can get dirty.
Yeah, one thing I always... Sorry, Aman, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll actually, we don't even know what the interviewer's inclination is, right? So it's better.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Be a bit subtle, and if there's some point that you would say that you don't like a lot, you might want to give facts. You might want to express reasons why. Why is it that? How can it be better? It's not. You can't just make blanket statements and just forget about it. You have to. If you are criticizing something, you have to tell that why, what is wrong with that, right? How can it be handled better? Yeah, that's that.
Yeah. And I think I always say this: there's no place for emotions in an interview. Number one, and an interview is not a place to have political debates or any kind of debates. What you do on social media, what you do on Twitter or Reddit, is not something that you would do in an interview. Now, what a panelist can do is they can try to get a rise out of you. They're testing you, right? To see, to give you a sort of like a politically charged topic, and to see how you handle it. Do you handle it with calmness and composure and maturity, or do you get swayed by emotions? If you get swayed by emotions in an interview, it's going to be a big minus for you, right? So no matter how hardcore your opinions are politically and how hardcore you are on social media, please don't bring that side of your personality in an interview. Nobody would appreciate it, right? And I think Bhoomika made a very important point. These are probably an ex-IAS officer who's a professor, or who's also on the panel, or who's worked in the government. So be strategic, be honest, but please be strategic in an interview. Your goal is to get a seat, not to win a debate, right? So remember that. I think that's a very important point. All right, fantastic. I think this has been great. Thank you so much, Aman and Bhoomika. As usual, fantastic session. I think it was loaded with some really good tips and strategies. Just to sort of reiterate one point that both of you mentioned, this college will require you to prepare. Okay, we understand you're fatigued right now. You've gone through so much, right? But then if you want to stand out, you'll really have to prepare for this college, right? And you have time, so sort of start right away, practice a lot, and then, no matter what your CS or what your background is, you'll still have a very good chance to crack this interview. And it's a college worth sort of giving your all for. Okay, great. Thank you, folks. Any last closing messages for our students? Any motivation?
Go
ahead.
I mean, not exactly motivational, but I'll just like the people to be understand that there's something called the dichotomy of controls. That there's only some things that you can control in this process, right? You cannot control your graduation marks or your even your IIFT score now, right? What you can control is your interview. So please try to focus on that and do not let the other things weigh you down. There's that, and things might and it is very important to understand the importance of luck here, right? Because luck does play a role.
Definitely.
We can't just overstate it. This thing is we cannot deny the presence of luck in this. There might be other candidates also who are equally deserving, but we are sitting here, right? So it's just that if you understand this, you can go with a more prepared mindset, and it'll show in the way you interact with the interview, right? So yeah, I mean, please understand this and do not panic. I think as much as your preparation is important, equally important is how well you conduct yourself, how well you handle yourself in the interview, because the interview doesn't know you. The interview only has that 10-20 minute window. Only that is the only amount of time the interview is getting to make an opinion of you. You might be an incredible person, you might have the best knowledge in the world, but if in the interview you're not being calm, or you're just panicking or sweating or anything, I mean, you show that you can't handle it, then the interview will will definitely make his judgment, right? They have a lot of people to select from. So you only have that window. So please do keep your calm, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like confidence comes from practice. You can always say like, it was not my day and all of that, this happened, that happened. You can always crib about it. Nobody will deny it and people will console you for it. But a lost opportunity is still a lost opportunity, right? And you have it right now. I always say, ever since I've been receiving, queries and everything, I always say like so many people aspired for it, but you got in. There's something working for you here, something that you probably are unaware of, and you need to spend time with yourself to find out what is it so that you can portray it in the most convincing manner and it speaks for you. So confidence comes with practice, and you need to go through a lot of mock interviews. I understand there's a lot of exhaustion and fatigue and all of that, but this is also practice, right? Don't look at it as fatigue. My mom always tells to never look back how far you have ran, only look forward how much is left, So it's only a matter of a month or even lesser than that, and you're right there. And even if you're not there, you're way, way, way ahead of where you started from. And that is what matters, because that is going to stay with you forever. So practice GD, write a lot of WATs, practice giving interviews here and there, form groups if you can, read a lot of news, because I still think that the news and the analysis that I've understood or learned during the time of my CAT prep to the interview that I gave is more than what I've done in my entire duration at IIFT, because you get involved in a lot other activities, but the smartness that you carry from there still stays with you. And like Aman told you that there are few channels, Cut the Clutter and things that he spoke about, he still reads and watches. Why is it that so? It's not because he wanted to do it for the interview, because he was genuinely interested in it. And that is how it is justified that he's here, because he was rightly so deserving of being here, right? Like any of us here. And anything can be thrown at you, but maintaining calm, again, like he said, do not panic, maintain your calm. Know that you are a unique person. You have a lot of capabilities. You stand a chance here, and these people are sitting in front of you, devoting their time, effort, energy, and money on you because you deserved it. So carry that confidence with you, and you'll do well. And even if you don't, it's always better from where you started. So congratulations on the call, and good luck for what is coming.
Amazing. Amazing. All the best, folks. Do well, prepare hard. And yeah, we'll see you next time with another session. Thank you, Aman and Bhoomika, once again.
Thank you so much, Jatin. Thank you to IIFT.
Thank you.
For helping coordinate. Yeah.
Okay.